Amstelveen. We get the ball underway.
Away we go. You can see Australia have changed to their white shirts and dark shorts for this game. They're playing from right to left across your screens. The Netherlands, of course, in their orange strip in front of what will pretty soon be a full house. Still, the crowd comes pouring in. It's a holiday, a public holiday in the Netherlands, and this has been a sellout for a long time. The situation at the moment is that the Netherlands have won all 3 of their matches, so they're top of the ranking group at the moment. Remember, 6 countries taking part in this, and Australia so vital certainly for Australia. Right at the start, yeah.
Yes, very careless error by Yazette, a little nervous in front of this big crowd. The ball played into the circle. Jay Stacey dummied over the top of the ball. Yazette was caught probably being slightly distracted by the centre forward. The ball popped up, dangerous play. Penalty corner number 1 for Australia.
Caught a glimpse of umpire Raymond O'Connor from Ireland. So it will be Michael Brennan to play it in, inject as they call it these days. And here it comes. First one driven in. Good save by the goalkeeper, but it will be a second penalty corner to Australia.
Yes, as the ball's played up into the air, played in a dangerous situation. Difficult for the goalkeeper, of course. The ball's going at about 100 kilometres an hour. His job is to save it, and of course it goes up in the air. He has to face the music again.
Jay Stacey it was, with a powerful drive. Brennan again. Here it comes. Stacey again. Good save. Oh, that was a fine save. Ronald Janssen getting his right glove to it and managing to turn it aside.
Yes, very nice save. A stressful situation for the goalkeeper so early in the match.
He also, with that forest of legs and sticks in front of him, can often see it very late, Richard.
Oh, absolutely, because there's so many bodies in the way, people trying to get deflections, people putting screens on the goalkeeper. It's all very sophisticated in these days, Ron.
Good start for Australia, though. Here they come again, into the 25. Well defended, and the Netherlands can get it away. Good bit of play by Van Wijk. Now then, a first glimpse of De Nooijer. Gets into the 25 and wins the hit.
Yes, very good play by De Nooijer, but Jason Duff had to slow him down, and he did that.
Another hit to the Netherlands, just outside the 25 this time. Brinkman, so much experience. We talked about experience in the Australian side. There's a lot of experience too in this Dutch side. Here's one of them, Stefan Veen. Been around a long time.
Yes, they've been very good players, and of course Brinkman's the most capped in men's hockey of all time.
Absolutely right. Well, here he is. This is Brinkman, in fact. He will leave it for Jerome Delmy. A chance may be for the Dutch in front of goal. Has it gone in?
Oh, over the top.
Wow, well. It was all happening in front of the net then, and Australia did well to survive.
Absolutely. I think it came off Brinkman in the end, and how it got over the top of the goal, I don't know, but it's very lucky for Australia.
So it's a long corner, which was lifted, and so a little relief for Australia, but that was an amazing incident in front of the goal.
It certainly was, and it worried me that Van Wyk was able to have so much space on the left wing. I'm not sure who was looking after him, but they'd have to tighten up in that situation.
But what a start to the match. It's exactly the sort of start from both sides that we would have wanted, I think.
Oh, the crowd would love that. I mean, the crowd in front of us nearly fell off their chairs in that situation, because perhaps we see it here on the replay. There's Van Wyk. He pulls around the first tackle, knocks it back, and suddenly it's bouncing back to. How did it get over the top? Must have got a little deflection off Duff.
I think it was Jason Duff, without question. There seemed to be a little tangle of sticks there, but I think you're right. It was Duff, but it just looped up over the top of the bar. So 0-0.
Oh, that's a chance for victory.
Oh, it's a marvellous ball across the circle.
Of course, all the people in Holland know Jay Stacey because he played club hockey here for Orange Black for a season last year, and they all know him, and they all thought he was a terrific player. It was great to see him back.
Good to see Craig Vickery back too. He's been ill with a touch of food poisoning. He scored 2 goals in the opening win over Korea, and but then he missed the next game because he wasn't feeling at all well. But he looks fit and well again now.
He certainly does, and he hasn't got his red boots on today, Ron. I'm very disappointed because he likes those red boots, but maybe he's passed that food poisoning on to Stephen Davies. If Davies is unavailable today as well.
Of course, if you wear red boots, Richard, you've got to be pretty good because everyone can see you, can't they?
Absolutely.
So now in Australia. Remember, they're in white today, playing from right to left across your screens. 5 minutes gone. Very good, very exciting opening 5 minutes with chances really at both ends.
Great skill by Van Wyk.
De Nooijer, of course, will be closely marked today, Richard, because Australia know all about him, don't they?
Oh, they do, and the amount of space he was given the other day by the Germans just absolutely bewildered me, that someone of the calibre of Michael Green will let De Nooijer running around, just receiving the ball unattended. But hopefully Australia won't allow that to happen today, as I see Jason Duff and Stacey combining to put pressure on him at every occasion.
Hit to the Netherlands. Brinkman took quickly. They're going to have to go back and build again. Very confident in their passing. They like to move the ball around, like to change the direction of play, try and outmaneuver opponents.
Very patient as well, aren't they? They like to move the ball around and wait for that opportunity, like now.
The variation with a lofted ball downfield, but now it's Australia's turn to counter-attack with victory. Wins the hit for Australia. Just inside the Dutch 25.
His Craig Vickery just didn't get enough power on that ball, because he's a likely frame lad from Adelaide in South Australia. Very, very good player. Exciting prospect. I think that the Dutch also would target Australia's left side as we watch Butler go forward.
Now then into the circle again, and the hit goes to Australia just outside the circle. Remember, they have to be 5 yards away. Now, did that touch a foot? Apparently not. Very difficult to see on occasions when the ball is played in there. Now then, that little buzz goes round the crowd, the home crowd immediately, and you know De Nooijer has possession. Here he is again. He's got such pace and such a graceful player as well, and he wins the first penalty corner for Holland.
Yes, young Butler really showed up his inexperience. You see on the replay, he just dives in when he didn't need to go. He just needed to stand off. De Nooijer was waiting for him, pulled the ball up back underneath for a penalty corner. A very dangerous situation for Australia, because as we know, Van Wyk and De Nooijer together quite lethal in this situation, as we see Santi Deo, the umpire, getting everybody prepared.
Well, it will be good to Van Pelt to stop. You can see him poised at the top of the circle. There he is. Doesn't do a very good job of it, in all honesty. And he may get a chance to drive it in. The ball was clearly lifted, though. And even though the ball actually went in and then came back out again, because it was lifted, and it wasn't a particularly good routine, actually, Richard.
No, they're normally very slick with their routine, but there was a fumble at the top by Van Pelt. But like everybody else, they can be nervous early in the game. Young Butler will want to make sure that he handles the ball. And as I speak, another opportunity for Boomer on the breakaway. There's opportunity at the top of the circle.
Yes, Boomer is the big man that Richard was talking about just before the start of the game.
That long reach again.
Yep. And that can be deceptive, Richard, can't you? You're used to a certain reach, and then when you get something which is that little bit extra...
Well, when you're 6'6" tall and you've got a hockey stick in your hand that's a metre long, you cover enormous distance, and if someone wants to drag around you, particularly on that forestick, it probably would be better to go through his feet, because he's such a tall player. He's probably not as good near his feet.
Netherlands, remember, are the current Olympic champions. They'll defend their title in Sydney in September. They won in Atlanta. They're also the current world champions after their win in Utrecht. Well, that was a clever bit of play. The little angled first-time ball by Boomer, which he tried to play out to the right-hand side. It didn't quite work, but again, it's just an example of how imaginative some of the Dutch players can be with their stick work. They're really clever at that little first-time pass.
The lovely little wall pass that they attempted then, if it comes off, the player who's receiving it can just run into the circle and have that shot. But Michael York was good enough to make the interception. I'm a little concerned about the Australian forward line. Michael Brennan and Jay Stacey just aren't getting involved, and Jeremy Hiskins, as I speak, is coming off.
Yes, Elmer waiting to come on, I think. De Nooijer tries to get through on the right. Again, it's driven across. It's dangerous. De Nooijer again gets possession in front of the net. Reverse stick, high and wide in the end. I have a feeling it was Van der Weide who eventually got the shot, but not on target, and so a little bit of a relief for Australia, but another good incisive attack by the Dutch.
It certainly was, and Australian defence under siege, and one of the problems they've got is getting the ball in possession coming out of defence. It's all very well to make the interception, but you must hold possession. This Brennan, once again, loses the ball to Del May.
James Elmer on for Australia. You'll notice his fair hair as well.
Smith's come on the right wing to replace Victory. So Terry Walsh making the changes, try to get some possession into this Australian lineup.
Again, the ball lofted downfield, not accurately that time. A reminder for those of you not too familiar with hockey that you can make substitutions at any time. It's rolling substitutions, and unlike soccer and other games, it doesn't mean that when you're substituted you stay on the bench. You can come on and off, and it's a great opportunity for the coach, who has 18 players at his disposal, to make tactical changes, and of course changes can be made for injuries and other reasons. It's a good system, Richard, isn't it?
Oh, it's a very good system. Now here's an opportunity for Australia to break, but they need to hold possession to get this Netherlands defence. And of course they've lost the ball again.
Yep.
Pulled around, that's Del May pulling around Stacey.
Brinkman, such a general in midfield. He goes forward now. He's already back into the circle. Got good goalkeeping. Needed to be good keeping by Lachlan-Dreher, who was very alert, quickly off his line.
Oh, that's very careless Parlis coming out of the defence, and if they keep playing like this, it'll be a cricket score, because sooner or later the Netherlands will put runs on the board, because you just cannot absorb this much pressure for a long period of time. Elder and Brennan and the players in the forward line must put pressure on the defence of the Netherlands by holding possession and running at them.
This is Brennan now. It's quite neatly done, tried to feed Butler on the left-hand side, but immediately closed down by the very, very quick Dutch covering. They're very good at quickly surrounding the player with the ball, Richard. They hunt in packs almost, don't they?
They certainly do, and if you move the ball slowly, they'll move across and gang tackle. And we see York coming out. Lovely ball to Smith. The through ball to Stacey.
Stacey giving chase. Can he keep it in? He's done very well to keep it in from going over the back line, and this may be a chance. I'm not sure whether the whistle had gone. I don't think it had. And
Elder, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was Elder, and it was fortunate for the Dutch that Ronald Janssen in the goal got his pads at the near post there.
Absolutely right, and that was another error by Yazet at the back. Really an unforced error, because there was no pressure other than the fact that it was in the circle.
Eric Yazet approaching 200 caps. He's a very, very experienced international player. You don't really expect that sort of mistake, but it happens under pressure.
It does. The pressure of the situation, and there was a chance for Elder, and as we said, the whole game can change just by opportunism.
Crowd enjoying it. Little Mexican wave goes round, and here's this man again,
their favourite.
Again, good save by Lachlan-Dreher, who got his angles right, stayed on his feet for as long as he could, and eventually managed to get it away. But every time De Nooijer has the ball, it's danger to that Australian defence.
Well, in my opinion, he's the best player in the world, and by a long way, in fact. And if you're going to give him that much space, you're going to be in trouble. But at the risk of repeating myself, if the forwards keep losing the ball and the midfield doesn't take charge, the defence is going to be under siege for most of the match.
Reminds me a little bit at times, Richard, of Shabazz. Remember Shabazz?
Oh, well,
the great
exactly the same, right?
Yeah. But the same way of running, the lovely graceful running, and the pace, of course, and the lovely stick work.
Well, you'd always think about their skill level, as we just watch here as Matthew Smith's in the circle. You always think about their skill level, but you forget about their ability to run quickly and the work they do, their aerobic fitness. And he's got all of those attributes. And of course, the crowd love him. He's an absolute hero in the Netherlands.
But 0-0 it is. 15 minutes almost gone in what has been an absorbing opening start to the game. I think it's fair to say that the Netherlands have looked the more likely side. They've forced Australia back. But don't underestimate the Australian resilience and the ability to get back into it.
Yes, and I'm not surprised. Dean Butler's gone off and Murray Richards has come on at left half. Butler's really struggling against this right side attack of the Netherlands. Boomer, it's just too big for him and too fast. I said that before the game.
Yes, he did.
And I think it's actually come true that now Murray Richards who's normally a fullback, has come on to play left half. And that's been brought about because Sproul and Godoyne are injured and back home in Perth.
Lovely little touch again, or an attempt anyway. It was Van Wyk that time, Remco Van Wyk, who tried that little first time angled pass inside the fullback. Didn't quite work, just overhit it. But again, a clever little bit of imagination. Hit in is Australia's. Umpire not happy with it. Reminded the umpires are Santiago Deo, who is probably the most experienced of all the umpires nowadays, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
In world terms.
I can remember when he was in Perth in 1979, which is a very long time ago now.
And Raymond O'Connor of Ireland is the other umpire. Dutch have possession. Again, it's the usual patient build-up as they just probe for the opening.
Veen, Duff makes the interception. There's Richards, his first hit.
Yeah.
You'll be happy with that.
And the Dutch have brought Geertijn de Ries on. He's pushed on up front. He's the number 9.
Yeah,
Big, strong attacker.
Yes, umpire Deo was correct. He allowed the advantage, but the ball deflected off Brinkman's stick on the free hit. So he had to bring it back and give it to Australia. Here's Brennan.
This could be interesting. Livermore coming forward as well for Australia on the left of the area. Dutch back in numbers. Now then, a chance for Van Wyk. He's big and strong. De Nooijer getting into the circle in support. Well, Australia defended well. Michael York will bring it out.
Jason Duff has been injured running back. He's had the knee reconstruction. So Terry Walsh has got more than his share of worries at the moment. It's like the walking wounded. And that's the last thing you need when you're playing Netherlands in the Champions Trophy in the Netherlands.
Remember Stephen Davis missing as well. One of the hugely experienced Australian players, well over 250 caps. Just touched Brennan's foot, just outside the circle.
So now Australia's got problems in defence. They've got 2 very young defenders. This will be an opportunity for Matthew Wells and Murray Richards. It places more stress on the captain Michael York to have a wonderful game. But after all the problems they've had, after the 17 minutes of play remaining, the score is still 0-0. So Stefan Veen, the captain of the Netherlands team, tries to get the players back in tune and not get caught up with the problems the Australian team are having.
Exactly right. They just have to play their own game. They're trying to impose themselves on the match, which they've largely done up to a point. What went wrong then, and you could see Brinkman was a little angry with that. Just a little bit of careless play as they brought the ball out of defence. Not like the Dutch at all. Now it's Australia's opportunity to build from the back.
Young Matthew Wells, right fullback for Australia, is from Hobart. Very inexperienced fullback. Seemed to have a lot of class. A big test for him today.
Livermore's brought it through midfield for Australia. But again, the Dutch are back in numbers in defence, and their deep defence has done well so far.
Yes, Del May is a very important player. I would like to see the Australian defence just stabilise for the next 5 minutes or so, not trying to run forward to help in the attack, but just stabilise the defence, get a few things sorted out without trying to get too involved in attack.
And it's important that Michael York, in many respects, sorts that out on the field with all his experience and know-how.
Absolutely right, because once again we saw Stephen Holt going forward on the right-hand side, and that's fine as long as they're organised at the back.
Here come the Dutch again. They're getting men forward very quickly. This is Eichelboom. Van Wyk. Great chance. Didn't quite hit it. Fine, but in goes De Nooijer. Is it De Nooijer? I'm not absolutely sure. But certainly
it might even be Geerens. I was just looking to see that. Here's Van Wyk on the ball. He pulls back underneath Wells.
Might be Eichelboom, I think, the number 18. We shall see anyway.
There's the shot.
Yes, it's Eichelboom.
That's number 18.
Yeah, Martin Eichelboom, who'd only just come on as a substitute. but all the real hard work was done by Remco van Wijk. And, well, we have to say, Richard, and you've been saying for some time, that you sense a goal could be coming at any time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've really held the ball. Australia's just been defending. They haven't really been able to put anything together in attack, apart from those penalty corners in the first few moments of the game. They've had one other opportunity, is Ronald Jansen just entertaining the crowd as a goalkeeper. But here's an opportunity for Elmer. If he can just get the ball to Smith on the top of the circle.
Smith, lovely. Oh, that was a great chance. A great opportunity for, was it Victory?
Yes, it was Victory.
Got in there, yeah, just at the far post. There he is. Craig Victory, who got 2 goals in the first game in the win over Korea. But that was a good opportunity.
That was the best piece of play of the Australian team for about the last 10 or 15 minutes, and that's the sort of play they have to do. Get behind the Dutch defence and get in behind the goalkeeper for the little deflection or the shot from the top of the circle.
It was a little quicker, Richard. It was a bit of sharpness about it.
Well, if you play their speed and their style, you're going to be in trouble because they're experts at it. But it's certainly going to be a matter of this forward line, the Australian team, which is a very inexperienced forward line. Only Jay Stacey is the most experienced player by a long, long way. But you've got Hiskins, Victory and Smith in the forward line. Between them, they haven't played a lot of international hockey, certainly not at this level.
Australia have a great record in this Champions Trophy. It's the 22nd Men's Champions Trophy, and Australia are 7 times winners, and of course they're defending champions. They won in Brisbane last year, didn't they?
Yes, they did, and played very well in Brisbane last year. But obviously, if you have a lot of injury problems, then that takes a lot out of the engine room of the team. And if you take 2 key players out, you imagine the Dutch team without say, Del May and Veen. And suddenly, you've got a different looking lineup.
Sure. So 1-0, the Dutch lead. 13 minutes left in this first half. It's been a tough first half for the Australians. Now then, down the right-hand side this time goes Van Vale. Oh, and again it came across, and again it was the same man, Martin Eichelboom, who got in just in front of the net. Dive in, couldn't quite get his stick to it properly to deflect it goalwards.
Very talented player, Eichelboom. I was very impressed with him against Germany and impressed with him immediately in this match.
Now then, Stacey comes down the left for Australia. He's just a little disappointed with that, just as it started to look a little promising. Jay Stacey, who seems to have been around forever, Richard.
Oh, well, he started with me in 1987, so that's not forever, but it's getting close to it. 300 odd internationals. In fact, I made the presentation to him in Perth in April a couple of months back, and they flew his mother over, and it was a fantastic occasion. And so tonight he's playing somewhere 308 or 9 internationals. Been a wonderful player for Australia, but he can't do it all on his own.
No,
some of these other players have to step up.
Over 150 goals too for his country. That's worth adding. But here come the Dutch again. They're having a good period now. And again, the power on that shot from Remco van Wijk. He, at the moment, is finding an awful lot of space, Richard.
Yeah, too much space. They're going to be in all sorts of trouble, Australia, if they keep playing like this. And certainly they've got their problems at the back. And Terry Walsh on the bench, I'm sure, will be concerned. At the moment, I can't understand he doesn't have Michael Brennan on, one of the key players in the lineup. And as I speak, he's just warming up to come back on. But perhaps Walsh is saying to himself, well, I've got to find out about these players. We're going to pick the Olympic team in a month's time. I think about July the 3rd or 4th. They're going to choose a team. I have to find out who can play at this level. And nothing better than put them in the heat of the moment.
We'll watch this next Dutch attack. They have a hit, Richard, and I'll put a point to you then about the way this tournament is being played in relation to the Olympic Games. But we'll just watch to see what happens as the Dutch are just forced back as they build again. Brisbane driving in fact, it's gone out of play. How have you seen this tournament? Because obviously coaches do have in mind that the Olympics coming up in September. What's been the thinking?
Oh, well, I don't think there's any doubt that the thinking is September in 3 months' time. All of these teams have got 18 players, and at the international hockey tournaments, all except the Olympics, you're allowed to have 18 players. And so they've got 18 players here. That means 2 of them aren't going to be at the Olympics in 3 months' time. Now, that puts an enormous amount of pressure on every player, not to mention the coach and the coaching staff. Their responsibility is to find out who's going to go to the Olympics and who isn't. Because at the end of the day, the Champions Trophy, albeit in our mind is quite important, but it pales into insignificance when you're talking about Olympics.
Absolutely right. in hockey terms, it's a great tournament, of course. And here come Holland again. Again, they've got lots and lots of players inside the circle. Oh, and again, it's gone right across goal. And in the end, it's going to be a long corner. But there's just too much space for those Netherlands attackers in the circle.
Yes, they're certainly getting through far too easy, but it's a good play by Murray Richards that he just got enough stick on it to play the ball away from Veen.
The hit this time, taken by Elmer quickly. This is Livermore coming through the centre field, and well, that's the last thing Australia want to do now, because you have to work so hard to win the ball. You don't want to give it away in those situations.
Absolutely right. And Livermore, I believe, could run straight in that situation. Instead of trying to find Stacey immediately, he could run straight and get involved in a situation with Del May where he puts Del May under pressure. Because one of the key things about defence is not only defending, but putting pressure on the opposition, so they have to chase.
Hit in is to the Netherlands. They've already taken it. Elmer loses his stick. He tried to block the drive across the circle. They move it so quickly, change the direction so quickly. That may be slightly overhit. It was well, you could see what Jerome Delmy was trying to do, playing it out to the left-hand side. He just slightly overhit it.
Yes, now here's a chance for Australia. Now if they run straight, here's Elder on the breakaway, looking for victory, but just delayed on the ball too long and loses it. Even though he gets a free hit, it allows the Dutch to get behind the ball in numbers.
Yeah, if you've got to counter-attack, you've got to do it quickly. We saw one of the earlier games where Great Britain were beaten 5-1 by Spain, and Great Britain had so much of the play, so much of the possession, but on the counter-attack, they were literally hit 4 times, and that was it.
I walked into the stadium when it was 2-0 to Spain, and Great Britain had about 4 shots in 5 minutes, but Spain went the other end twice and had 2 goals, and suddenly it was 4-0.
But it just bears out Richard's point that if you are counter-attacking, it's got to be done with pace, and you just can't afford to be slowed. And once the build-up is slowed, then of course defences get back.
That's right, and certainly you'd have to think that Spain are a genuine gold medal hope on the form that they've showed here. Their forward line is fantastic.
They've looked good.
They certainly have.
Matt especially, and 1 or 2 young players who look very good indeed. Tubau, the young 19-year-old, looks excellent, doesn't
absolutely. And remember,
chance for Australia. Brilliant, Livermore. Well, wouldn't you believe it? Well, that was beautifully taken. The Dutch defence suddenly was nowhere, but look at this effort by Livermore. First time, he was virtually on his knees off balance, but he swept it into the corner. That is a marvellous goal by Livermore.
Well, it's unbelievable, isn't it? How one opportunity, fantastic play by Livermore. Now, he's a centre midfielder, but he was in the middle of the circle. He was pushing up, got the beautiful ball from the right inner position. How it got through the Dutch defence is beyond me, but he swept it into the back of the net. And Janssen, the goalkeeper, had absolutely no chance. So despite all the things we've said, with only 6 minutes of play remaining, the score's 1-1. That's hockey. It's an amazing game sometimes. You just wonder.
It really is, but it set it up nicely, and suddenly this crowd has been stunned. The home crowd, which they love their hockey, of course, but they're here primarily to support the home team. Make no mistake about that. And that, suddenly, it was like shutting off a water tap.
Well, I think it's the first time Australia had been in the circle for about, as Maurits Hendricks, the coach of the Netherlands, probably standing there saying, well, I can't believe it's 1-1. It had so many opportunities.
He looked stunned, didn't he?
Oh, well, I would be too if I was in their position. It was almost like Richard Charlesworth yesterday when the Australian girls had so many opportunities against the Netherlands and lost the game.
Brennan trying to break through. Good run from him from centre field. 6 minutes left.
Look how the game changes suddenly. Suddenly there's an urgency in the step. People are confident.
Livermore again, scorer of that excellent goal. Stacey drives it in, goes into the goal, but again, for those of you not over familiar with hockey, let me just remind you that you can only score from inside the circle. Shots like that from outside do not count. Neuer, this is dangerous, the right of the circle. Well defended though, a little bit desperate, but at least they've got it away.
Yes, a good defence then by the Australian lineup. And as I speak, Australia have taken Stephen Holt off and Jay Stacey's playing centre half and Livermore's gone to right half. Now this was always an option.
This is Elmer. Now then, what can they do this time? Was that a foot? I think it may have been. And the hit goes to Australia just outside the circle. Remember, they've got to back off 5 yards. Neat little drive into the circle. Defended, though, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Dutch defenders back in front of their net. They suddenly, for the first time in the game, look a little anxious.
They do, and I can't understand why they've taken Boomer off unless he's injured, because he certainly was causing some problems.
De Nooijer again.
It's almost like the Dutch team have got caught up in the problems of the Australian team. They've lost concentration, and they're starting to make some mistakes. I don't believe it's really because the Australians are playing much better. I mean, they're playing better than they were early on, but they just started to get a little more composed, the Australians. But the Dutch have certainly lost the plot in the last 10 minutes.
Well, I think you're right, Richard. It isn't as if it's been sort of constant pressure on their goal or anything of that kind. It's one break, but a goal does change things.
Absolutely. Here's Brennan breaking past them, whereas earlier they weren't doing that.
No.
But unfortunately didn't finish. The final pass wasn't what he would have liked.
Great run, though. Showed great determination and pace down that right-hand side. He is starting to look as if he's getting back to something like his best.
Yes, well, he had a very bad hamstring injury at the end of last year, and they can sometimes be a real problem, as they have been for Michael Brennan. Even De Nooijer is starting to miss trap, and you can tell the problem. There's no atmosphere in the stadium. The stadium's gone very quiet. The crowd is sitting. No one's whirling the rattles. No one's cheering. The Mexican wave has stopped. A very important part of the psychology of playing is you take that out of the game when you're playing in front of the Dutch.
All because of one goal. But now Stefan Veen, he comes through, tried to filter it through to De Nooijer, who is already on the run.
A good interception by Livermore.
And this is Jay Stacey now. He's seen it all before.
He's playing centre half now, so maybe they're getting some experience into that half line. Brennan was standing square when Stacey wanted him to run forward. It's a free hit.
Stacey will organise it. Just calming things down a little bit. Ah, he's giving it away to the wrong man, I can tell you. De Nooijer sets off again on one of these runs. Good awareness too. Brinkman, top of the circle. Lots of Australian defenders back. I think.
Well, it was a good tackle again. That's twice the Australians have got them on the rebound. And if you can do that often, then you'll put pressure on their defence. And I know the Australians are very keen to get at Yazet, the sweeper, because they believe he's vulnerable in a one-on-one. And we've seen that a couple of times already today.
Just over 2 minutes left in what has been an absorbing first half. It's been tight hockey. Australians been under pressure for much of the time, but that goal by Brent Livermore, brilliantly taken, has brought them back into it. Eichelboom giving the Dutch the lead earlier on, which they certainly deserved.
Here's Brennan.
Suddenly the game has changed. Did well to get that across the circle. Still not absolutely clear. Now they can bring it clear, and there's a chance to counter-attack.
Boomer's back on.
Yep. Here he is, big man. And he goes for the return.
Australia's getting very organised at the back now.
I think they're looking better, Richard,
They
don't
are.
you?
They certainly are. They're getting numbers back, and they certainly look better with Livermore at right half and Stacey in the middle. And suddenly Brennan's starting to get the ball. Now it's just a matter of Jimmy Elmer and Hiskins really lifting their play and getting involved. And suddenly Australia really back into this game after what could be considered to be a horrendous start.
Yeah, they had to withstand an awful lot of pressure in the opening 20 minutes or so. This is Brennan again. Won't quite reach that.
But the main thing is they're now playing in the Dutch half rather than playing in their own.
And we're inside the last minute of this first half. All square at 1-1. The Netherlands won, Australia won. And the crowd certainly a good deal quieter than it was not so very long ago when the Dutch were leading and, if not coasting, certainly comfortably in the lead. But that Livermore goal changed absolutely everything. 30 seconds remaining. Brennan has possession again for Australia.
I think Australia would be very happy to go in at 1-1. They're all looking at the clock. They realise there's only 20 seconds of play remaining.
So a little bit of talking for both coaches to do, I think. Moritz Hendricks will certainly, I think, be bit disappointed, having taken the lead and largely dominating, to lose it. And there goes the hooter to end what has been a fascinating first half of hockey, I would say, Richard. It's the Netherlands 1, Australia 1. Eichelboom giving the Netherlands the lead, and then Livermore with a quite superb equaliser.
Absolutely superb equaliser. When you look at the match statistics, you can absolutely be deceived into thinking that this is a very even contest. Australia started quite well with 2 penalty corners, which went unconverted, and then the problems started. I mean, we had Butler left half in all sorts of trouble, and then an injury to Duff, and let's hope that it's not his knee. We still haven't been able to work out whether it's his knee or an ankle. Reorganisation of their defence with Richards, Wells, then we saw Holt going off, then we saw Stacey going off, and he went to centre half. There were so many changes taking place, you and I could barely keep up with the date, and while all that was going on, I think the Dutch got distracted. Instead of pushing home that advantage, they took Boomer off, I'm not sure why, and suddenly Livermore scores and it's 1-1, and the Australian players walk off thinking, well, we've been to purgatory and back, we're back into the game, and we haven't even played well. And perhaps in the last 7 minutes, I think they played better than the Dutch.
Yes, at one stage I thought they were going to call you on, Richard. But
well,
anyway...
no, they weren't that desperate. It wasn't that desperate at that stage, but certainly they were looking around, looking for some fit players. But Terry Walsh, I think, marshalled the troops very well in what was a very troublesome 15 minutes of play. And when they go into the change room, it will be a matter of trying to reorganise and settle this defence down.
So it's nicely poised for the second half. Rejoin us for that. We're looking forward to it, certainly. It's the Netherlands 1, Australia 1.
Hurry into Harvey Norman for super savings during our huge half-yearly clearance. Just look at these great Philips deals. Save $50 on this hi-fi stereo VCR with long play recording. It's just $349. This hi-fi stereo VCR has the lot. Jog shuttle control, audio dubbing. It's perfect for video camera editing. Save $150 at $449. This Philips 138cm stereo rear projection television with teletext and 2-tuner picture-in-picture. Save $1,000, now $4,999.
It's the biggest bank robbery ever attempted.
I've been planning this job for 2 years.
And he desperately needs an architect to complete the job.
Why are you so persistent with me?
Because you're the man I need.
It's an ingenious plan to get inside an impenetrable bank vault.
All right, that's it. We're going in to have a look.
I've assumed there's been a fault in the system. That's the loophole.
Martin Sheen, Albert Finney, Loophole. Premieres Monday, 8:30 on Movie Greats.
Here's your chance to grab something from the 90s. Blue Star Cooper and Crows champion Jarman have signed just 500 of these limited edition photographs, highlighting their own great grabs. Available exclusively through Channel 7 for just $110. So you can keep Jars and Cooter hanging for some years to come. Don't miss out. Call 1-800-151-777 to secure your piece of AFL history.
So welcome back to the Wagner Stadium here in Amstelveen, just south of Amsterdam, the Dutch capital. This is the Dutch team returning for the second half. It is the Netherlands 1, Australia 1, after what really had been an extraordinary first half, dominated for the first 20 minutes or so by the Netherlands, and they duly took the lead when Martin Eichelboom got a goal for them after 20 minutes. And Australia, who were in some disarray, they're not helped by injuries and illness, it has to be said, but they changed things round a little bit and eventually maybe did sort out certainly their defence. And then they got an equaliser through Brent Livermore, who scored a quite superb goal as the ball came across the top of the circle, and he was off balance. He was almost on his knees, I think, when he hit it, but he swept it past goalkeeper Janssen into the bottom corner. It was a lovely effort by Livermore, and so we were all square. And I have to tell you, that goal by Livermore, that equaliser by Livermore, absolutely silenced the big Dutch crowd which is packed into this stadium. It's a marvellous sight. Orange, of course, is the predominant colour, the home side, but I think it set us up, Richard Aggers, for what could now be a truly great second half.
Well, we hope so, because at half-time, Coach Terry Walsh and Jim Irvine have a chance to reorganise the Australian lineup, They resorted to the fact that Jay Stacey was better off at centre half and Livermore at right half. And once they made that move, it seemed to settle the defence down. Because as we all know, it's all very well to have an attacking lineup, but unless you've got a sound, balanced defence, you're going to be struggling. And of course, when Jason Duff went off with what we understand to be a tear of his left quadricep, and on the same leg as his knee reconstruction, and obviously that means he's going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks, which is another concern. But that then meant that these three guys, York, Wells and Richards, are now going to form the backbone of the defence. Now, 2 of those are very inexperienced. The interesting side issue to that is one of them's probably going to go to the Olympic Games as the third fullback, providing Duff is okay. Now, if Duff is not okay, then probably 2 of those are going to go. So this is an opportunity for Walsh and Irvine and the selectors to have a look at how well they go under pressure.
You just caught a glimpse too there in the cap and the headphones these days, of course, of Moritz Hendricks, the Netherlands coach. I'm sure he's had 1 or 2 things to say to his team at half-time. But there you have a lovely view of the Wagner Stadium and the big crowd that's packed in here. Grey skies overhead, but very little wind. Just a touch of dampness in the air, but ideal for hockey. I think the players, the pace at which they play these days, are quite grateful for the cool, relatively cool weather. And we're ready to get underway with the Netherlands, of course, in their famous orange shirts, playing from right to left in this second half. They will have the pushback. And
yes, as I look, I can see Stacey back into inside right and Livermore back in the middle and Holt on again at right half. So they've gone back to the defence that they were using at about the 20-minute mark after all the injury issues were solved. But we're underway now, and the Dutch certainly will look to get some involvement in the game, and especially get Stefan Veen and Boomer and Van Vick back involved in the game.
Australia are in the white shirts today, not the usual gold and green. Just a little mistake on the right-hand side, right at the very start by Van der Weide.
Good play by Elder.
Now Stacey. Opportunity. Knocked away by Janssen, who had to be smart to come off his line. But that's a good start to this second half by Australia. It was Matthew Smith on the right-hand side who drove that across, struck it beautifully, cleanly.
Absolutely, and that's a nice start from Australia. And it was crisp. That's the thing that I'm looking for, that crisp passing, that sharp movement.
There's Smith again, just on the right of the circle. Stacey, nice little feint there. That's clever stuff. Dutch back in numbers. They've managed to get it away. Might have struck a foot. Umpire's quite happy. The play goes on. And eventually it was Stefan Veen who ran it out. Smith couldn't quite reach that, but the hit goes to Australia. Good start to this second half.
Yes, very much more positive start. And certainly if they can get the Dutch on the back foot, they'll be much happier than what they were 20 minutes ago when they were just all at 6s and 7s.
Livermore leaves it for Matthew Wells. Just let me remind you about the ranking situation. Remember, we have 6 countries involved in this Champions Trophy, the 22nd Champions Trophy. Netherlands, Australia, Spain, Germany, Korea and Great Britain are the countries involved. And it's been round robin in this pool. And at the moment, the Netherlands, from 3 games, have won all 3 of them. So they're at the top with 3 points. 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw. And the Spain, who played a game more, they've completed the game earlier today when they beat Great Britain comfortably by 5-1. They have 7 points at the moment. Germany have 6. Australia have 5. Of course, they played a game fewer. This is the game that will bring Australia back up to par with 4 matches played. So it's important in that context, Richard, that Australia get a win.
Oh, certainly. If they want to play in the finals, they certainly need a win here. But nevertheless, there's been so many upsets in this competition. It's anything could happen later on today and tomorrow. Smith!
Oh, lovely effort on the reverse. And again, good goalkeeping. He was in the right place, was Ronald Janssen. But Smith did so well. Athletic bit of play.
Wonderful piece of play, but you can tell when you've got the Dutch in trouble because Janssen starts yelling. Yazet starts yelling. They've got problems at the back. Now, they need to settle down now. It's almost like it becomes contagious. I keep looking at Stephen Holt. He went off in the first half, and just then he didn't show any enthusiasm for the ball. And I wonder whether he's not feeling a bit off as well. He looks a bit pale, but he's certainly not himself, I'm sure. We'll watch him with interest.
Stephen Holt is number 21 for Australia.
And we're just reminding everybody that Stephen Davies is home.
Yes.
In the hotel. He's not feeling well, stomach complaint.
Yeah, there's been a bit of food poison, I think, in the Australian camp. Certainly, Craig Vickery was unwell, had to miss 2 games, in fact. Now then, first touch in this second half for De Nooijer. Brinkman almost slid through by Brinkman. This is a good run too, round the left-hand side. He had to go the long way round. It was Wouter van Pelt.
This weather's picking up too, Ron. Suddenly the wind's up and there's a little bit of rain starting to fall.
It's been a championship which, in all honesty, has been dogged by bad weather the first 4 or 5 days.
Last Sunday was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Well, the player had to be suspended.
Yeah, well, there was where I was at Akersloot, there was trees trees falling, and it was very dangerous.
Yes, in fact, Richard reminds me that Australia's second match against Spain took 2 days to complete, of course.
It was a long game.
Long half-time, certainly. They started the one day, and then at half-time the play was suspended because of the danger to spectators, really, because, as Richard was saying, lots of trees around this stadium, and they didn't want the danger of falling debris. And so that was completed the following day. 1-1 the draw with Spain in the end. Now Livermore for Australia. Remember, it's 1-1 here too at the moment. Good ball to Victory. What can he do?
Yep. Struggling to get the ball under control, Craig Victory today. The number of people slipping and sliding is a bit of a worry as well. I noticed that Matthew Wells has fallen over about 3 times. I don't know whether that's nervousness with young Matthew or he's got the wrong footwear on.
Because this is a good playing surface.
This is absolutely perfect. You can't play hockey here, you should retire. This is a magnificent surface, a great stadium. I love coming here. I've been coming here for 20-odd years. It's a great atmosphere, and the Dutch are just absolutely supremos in organising tournaments.
It's Brennan with the illegal challenge. Hear the whistle go. Just a reminder, our umpires are Santiago Deo of Spain, senior umpire in world hockey, really, and Raymond O'Connor from Ireland. 2 good umpires, I think.
Oh, very good. Raymond O'Connor umpired the gold medal match with Don Pryor in Atlanta, and Santi Deo's been around almost forever. And if the only reason he didn't umpire the gold medal match was because Spain was involved.
Of course. Now there's a long corner for the Netherlands. It's into the side of the goal. Goes over the back line, so it'll be a 16-yard hit for Australia. And if it sounded a little odd that Richard and I were discussing the playing surface and saying it's a good playing surface, all surfaces these days are the artificial surfaces, but they do vary, Richard, don't they?
They certainly do, and some of the players don't like some of the surfaces, but whatever their grizzles are, you wouldn't want to go back to natural grass and the mud and the slush and the long grass and all of that. I think the players just sometimes forget how spoilt they are today.
And it has made the game as a spectacle so much better, hasn't it?
Well, it's nice and clean and tidy, and players can show their skills. It has taken some of the unpredictability out of the game, and some people complain about that. The Indians tend to like that little bit of unpredictability because it suited their stick skills, but in terms of as a spectator sport, it's improved it enormously. I was just thinking a moment ago, we haven't really mentioned the performance of Lockie Dreyer, the goalkeeper for Australia, and he's really been quite superb in the first half.
He too is one of those who seems to have been around for such a long time, but I think, it's approaching 150 caps now, isn't it? It must be close to it.
Australia's been very lucky. As we just pause for a moment, there's a good tackle at the top of the circle by Brennan.
Now Brinkman keeping the attack going. Just to the left of the circle, but the hit will go to Australia. trouble getting out of there. 25 at the moment.
It's certainly a battle.
It is. It's not pretty stuff. There, it's very tight down near the back line. Oh, it's a lovely pass to Neuer.
Well, good tackle by Michael York on his reverse. Matthew Smith's got a chance as we break out of defence.
Brennan couldn't quite collect it, but he gets the hit. It's a lovely bit of play by Michael York then. He's such an unobtrusive sort of player, Richard, really, isn't he?
He's a wonderful player. He came into the Australian team when I was still a coach in 1988. And he walked in and started playing like he'd been there forever. I don't think I've ever seen him get involved with an umpire. He's such magnificent behaviour on the pitch, but a fierce competitor, and his tackling skills have been second to none. And he's certainly going to be sorely missed after the Olympics, when I'm sure he's probably his international career anyway will end.
But he's had a marvellous, marvellous career. Now then, back come Holland again. Oh, this is typical Dutch play. This is a chance, certainly. Oh, great save.
Oh, penalty stroke he's given for the tackle.
Well, he's given the stroke. The Australians don't like that.
Well, I think if they look at the replay, they actually got the ball, and that's what they're complaining about. Umpire O'Connor is being besieged. And of course, the person I talked about, if you watch on the replay here, well, he's got the ball. I can't imagine what the penalty stroke was. He's got the ball. It's a very poor decision. And Michael York, who I just mentioned, never talks to the umpire. There he is talking to the umpire. So he must believe in his own heart that it was a very poor decision. And when you look at the replay, I'm sure Ray O'Connor after will be scratching his head as to what he saw then.
Yes, it was umpire O'Connor who made the decision. He made it instantly.
He did.
I have to say.
He thought he came across the stick, but you'll see that he actually got the ball, and the ball was knocked away, and then it went to Brinkman. The Brinkman shot was saved.
So it's Stefan Veen who is given the opportunity to restore the Dutch lead.
And this will be interesting because the Australians would have noticed that Veen went to the goalkeeper's low left in the last match. Maybe they've put that information in their memory bank.
Sure they will have.
We'll see what happens here, but this is a very difficult situation because Veen also knows that they saw what he did last time, so it's almost like a double-double play here, second-guessing everybody.
Well, here we are. Goalkeeper Dreyer gets settled on the line. Stefan Veen. 1-1 at the moment. Oh, this time, very cleverly, he went to the right. I think Richard was spot on, because Lachlan Dreyer, I think, just fancied the left, favoured the left, and there it is, perfect view of it, and he sent the wrong way. It was beautifully struck, and so with that rather controversial penalty stroke, I have to say, back into the lead go the Netherlands.
Yes, Jay Stacey has just given Ray O'Connor a little clap, which probably is not worth worrying about at this stage, but Hiskin breaks away, but a good tackle by Yazet. But this could bring a bit of fire into the match. The Australians were incensed by the decision. But anyway, the score is 2-1 to the Netherlands with 25 minutes of play remaining.
Yeah, plenty of time for Australia to come back, and they're nothing if not fighters right to the end. They won't give up on it, make no mistake about that.
Absolutely, you can be sure about that.
Stacey going down the right, tough competitor. They don't come any tougher than Jay Stacey. Little slip there. Richard was right earlier on. There are one or two players who seem to be slipping around. Elderid was on that occasion. And you do wonder, of course I know they water the pitch all the time, Richard, but we've also had a sort of drizzle for much of the time. Just wonder whether that maybe affects the surface a little, or whether it is footwear.
I think it may be footwear. I can't imagine that this small amount of grizzle has worried everybody,
No.
but...
And it is the Australians who seem to be slipping rather more than the Dutch. Anyway, it's Stacey with the hit for Australia. Inside the 25. Well, that was just deflected from, well, I think it was from just outside the circle, but anyway, it was kicked away by Ronald Janssen safely.
Yes, Jeremy Hiskins had half a chance then, and then the ball fell near Brennan, but it was well cleared by the Dutch defence.
Great play by Brennan, who's already gone past two defenders in that run down the left-hand side. He'll need some support.
Richards.
Yeah. Now then, Stacey, top of the circle. Got men outside. Victory. Gets it across. Too many Dutch defenders back there, and they do get it away eventually. Good defending.
Very good defending. But I actually thought Victory probably could have had a shot from there. Even though he's on an angle, he's a very good goal shooter, and maybe a shot from there would have set it up. At least put the goalkeeper under pressure.
Brennan again, almost breaks through. Whistle had already gone. Brennan may have thought he'd got the advantage there, which he just for a moment did. Good pressure now, though, from the Australians. Victory! Chance! Oh, knocked away! Oh. Now then, what are they going to do about that, I wonder?
Well, they're saying he did this.
Yeah.
If you watch on the replay, you'll see the Dutch player played the ball above his head. It was actually a penalty corner because the ball was missing. But it's all happening here at Wagamers Stadium.
It's Santiago Deo who's given the long corner in the end. I'd certainly like to see that one again.
There's no question he played the ball above his head with the stick, which could be construed to be a deliberate breach and a penalty stroke, but probably a reflex action, therefore a penalty corner. But there's no replay coming up at the moment.
But in amongst it all, Richard, it was a very good chance for Craig Victory.
Oh, it certainly was. And Australia certainly handling the ball. They were incensed by the penalty stroke decision. And since that moment, they've really got fired up and started to string some very, very good passes together, led by this man, Stacey.
Stacey again. He's really got the bit between his teeth now. Thought that was a foot.
Good play by Yazet. Cleared the ball very well. But that man, Stacey's there again.
So he's everywhere at the moment. Great competitor.
Yeah. He and Brinkman having an exchange of ideas about probably what they're going to do after the match. I don't think so.
We're talking about the latest film, Richard.
No, I don't think so.
Long corner this time.
Yes, this is a very good play by Australia. They're really starting to string some passes together.
Stacey again. Will drive it across the circle. Yep. Well, goes straight the way through.
But there's nobody on the 7-metre spot diving in and causing that goalkeeper to play the ball. Hiskins really needs to get in front of the net. He was on the goal line then. I don't know whether it was a set piece, but he's on the goal line, maybe trying to play the ball back. But there's no one on the 7-metre spot.
So 2-1 it remains to the Netherlands. But a very, very controversial penalty stroke awarded just after half-time to give Stefan Veen the chance to put the Netherlands back in front. It was 1-1 at half-time. Eichelboom scoring for the Netherlands, and then Brent Livermore getting the equaliser for Australia.
Opportunity with Van Pelt going forward, but well done by York. There's an opportunity on the breakaway because Van Pelt's
out of position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stacey changes the direction. First time ball by Livermore. That's a lovely pass. Victory again. Tried to come inside.
Yeah, good tackle.
Slip again. But a good recovery by Van der Weijt. The slip almost worked in his favour that time, Richard, I think.
It did. Very good play. Very good tackle. Mind you, he needed to because there was no cover defence at that stage because Van Pelt had gone forward.
Australia again from the back this time. And again, it's Van Pelt in the game a lot at the moment. Good pass out to the left.
Boomer.
Front of goal. Yep.
Boomer to Eichelboom, but on a very, very difficult angle for that man, Eichelboom, on your screen, the goal scorer.
He's very good at getting into that sort of position. He comes late into the circle.
He's a very good player. Australians rate him highly.
Here they come again. Brinkman. Chance. Oh! Now, how did that get past?
Well, that was good umpiring by umpire Ray O'Connor, because you'll see here there's actually a penalty corner, but he gave Eichelboom the opportunity to score, and he just knocked it wide. It's turned into a very good game, Ron. As we said at half-time, we expected it to improve, and it certainly has done that.
Yes, the first half really, as a game of hockey, was no great shakes. It was fascinating in its own way, but Australia had their problems really in terms of illness and injury, and they were changing things round. Didn't really get their game together. Now though, well, did that strike a foot? I have a feeling it did. It was Michael York, was it, as he came across?
Yes, it was almost fortuitous for the Dutch team because the ball was played behind Boomer, but in running after Boomer, it's hit Michael York on the foot. This is a dangerous situation for the Australian lineup.
It's the Netherlands' first penalty corner of this second half. In fact, I make it just their second of the game so far.
Van Beek, because Lomans is not on the pitch, Van Beek will hit, probably.
Remco Van Beek, he's number 15. Watch him, there it is. Good this time, or it's deflected in.
Stefan Veen.
Yes. So a second goal for Stefan Veen. He just got his stick to it to deflect it high into the top corner of the net. Here it is again, Richard.
a lovely play, set play, a little deflection by Veen. The Australian defenders didn't come in front of him, as you can see Richards, and there's York. The ball's played by Veen, no chance for the goalkeeper from that distance, and 3-1 with 18 minutes of play remaining. The Australians have certainly got the work in front of them now.
Clever bit of technique as well, the way he just angled the stick.
Oh, beautiful.
So Stefan Veen.
It's a funny game, hockey, isn't it?
Yes.
Australia had all the play for 10 minutes, had 2 or 3 opportunities. Fortuitously, the penalty corner to the Netherlands. They capitalised on that, and you look at the scoreboard, and suddenly it's 3-1. Stacey and Brinkman having plenty to say. Both of them have played over 300 internationals, and I'm sure they're not discussing the weather. The look on their face.
I think they're still very angry about that penalty stroke. I've got no doubt about that. But 1 or 2 other things going on out there.
Not much you can do about that now. They have to get on with the match. Still plenty of time if they're good enough.
Yes, we've got just over 17 minutes left on the clock. Remember, in hockey, 2 halves of 35 minutes each, and that is continuous time. Clock is stopped when there is an injury or the need for a stoppage. Otherwise, play is continuous, so you do get your full 35 minutes, and it's 35 minutes of tough, continuous play.
Now Livermore and Van Vick are having a few words to say, and Stacey's getting in there as well. And Yazet has run 50 yards to be involved, and he doesn't mind getting involved, Yazet.
Well, I'd stay away from him, I think.
Yes, yes.
But it is, as you say, there is a bit of bad feeling out there now. A lot of pressure on both sides, but...
Well, most of them get on pretty well off the pitch.
Yeah, of course they do.
This is an arm wrestle. This is 2 team. Michael York having a bit of a laugh there with Ray O'Connor. He says, let's just get on with it. Yorkie's not worried too much.
I think they've just maybe taken the steam out of the situation, but little individual confrontations as well. I mean, it is a contact sport.
Absolutely, yes.
Bound to get that sort of thing.
Oh, they'll probably all have a beer tonight or after the whole thing's over, but right at the moment it's very important to them all. And of course, these teams are going to be involved in the Olympic Games in 3 months' time. They're going to be in opposite pools of the competition, and both of them want to try and win an Olympic Games gold medal. So that's what it's all about.
And I think Ray O'Connor, the umpire, handled that situation quite well. He took a little time to allow things to cool down a bit, but it's the other umpire, Santiago Deo, who's now getting involved. And
he wants Smith and Van Wick.
Yeah, it's continuing, I'm afraid, rather than just forgetting it and getting on with it.
Yep. I think probably Van Wick might be taken off and having a rest by their coach. Daya will be telling them to cut it out, settle down, otherwise you're off.
Smith, number 12, you can see, Van Vick. But I think both sides now, they've really they've got to get on with it, Richard, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. And I think Remco Van Vick will come off and have a drink, because if he goes on, if he gets one more, he'll have a yellow card, and that's unnecessary. They don't need to do that at the moment. They put one of the young boys on, and let's get on with the match.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
And the coach, Moritz, is just saying, settle down, have a drink, and we'll get you back on if we need you. He's the penalty corner hitter, so it's a very important part.
Yep. Little smile now, and you can have a little drink.
Perfectly honest, there wasn't a lot in it, was there? I mean, it was just a bit of pushing and shoving.
Well, on in his place has come number 19, Van Essenveld, who is one of the younger players, one of the newer players, 23-year-old. He's won just 10 caps, but a good opportunity for him to get the feel of tournament hockey play.
And obviously he'll be nervous like any young player would be. He'd like to get in there and get involved and get a hit.
Stacey still at the heart of the action, and it did touch a foot without question. Again, Brinkman,
because all the crowd know Jay Stacey, so they know he can be fiery, but he and Brinkman can be just as fiery, so that's why the hooting's going on.
Rich tapestry of life, Richard.
Absolutely. Good to see. Bit of spirit.
So here's the young 19-year-old as well. Stacey, strength, power, skill. Here he is again, receiving from Smith.
Well, good ball by Holt. Unfortunately, he wasn't trapped by Victory in the circle, but it was a beautiful pass.
And it was Peter Vint who's also come on for the Dutch, who's managed to get that one away.
The Dutch are running up very quickly. They want to apply the press. They want to try and lock this in. Matthew Wells over the ball with Murray Richards.
3-1 to the Netherlands. Netherlands 3, Australia 1, and we have 15 minutes left.
Butler's on for Australia. He's playing centre half. Livermore's gone off.
Great interception.
Oh, now there's a card this time.
Yep.
Sandy Dayo's not going to put up for this for too long, and Jimmy Elmer's probably going to feel the wrath of Sandy Dayo.
Yep.
Sandy's saying this is just silly.
Well, it's green.
Yep.
It's green.
Good on you. That's good play. That's good by Sandy Dayo because he didn't overreact. The crowd are calling for the yellow card, but there wasn't much in that one. It would have been unlucky if Elmer had been sent off. But there's a warning out there for everybody. Very shortly there'll be a yellow card.
But that's real experience, I think, Richard, is it? And common sense as well.
Absolutely.
The easy option then for Sandy Dayo would have been to give the yellow.
Oh, and the crowd would have
loved that.
Would have loved that. But
Yeah,
I think he's too smart for that.
Oh,
to get caught up in all of that.
It's interesting as well how long he took. He blew his whistle. He then walked about 40 yards at a very, very sedate pace.
And just thought about it. When Sandy starts to run, you know you're in trouble.
Yes.
But
Stacey on the right-hand side.
Australia's starting to struggle again in the forward line. They're really struggling to string some passes together.
Yes, at 3-1, you feel the Dutch now. They don't exactly have the game won. There's too much time left for that. But they are largely in control, I think, Richard.
Well, they're locking the ball in on one side, and Australia really need to switch the players. We see now, Ben Butler, there's an opportunity for Richard. Richard could run forward, draw an opponent, and then make the pass.
Murray Richards out on the left-hand side. This is Michael York.
Van Beek is back on. He wasn't off too long. Oh, there's a lovely ball. It's going to put the pressure.
Still loose. Still isn't out of the circle. Stacey can play it back in.
Well, the foot.
Well, that's a little unfortunate, I have to say.
A little bit of confusion between the goalkeeper and the defender there for the Netherlands.
Yes, it wasn't decisive by any means. But a little relief now for the Dutch.
Yep, that's the correct decision by Sandy Dayo. You cannot flick the ball directly over an oncoming player's head if he's within that 5 metres. And so that was definitely the correct decision.
Neatly done. Number 18 is Eichelboom, Martin Eichelboom, scorer of the first Dutch goal in the first half. He's back on now as well. More words exchanged, some in Dutch, some in English. And again, good umpiring by Santiago Dayo. He's just having a word with one or two of the Dutch players off the ball as
Veen is so quick. He is captain of the Netherlands and the player of the year last year. And later on tonight, we're actually going to find out the player of the year for the men and the best player for the man, best player for the woman for the last year.
He'll be 30 next birthday, but he still looks as young and as fit and as slim as he did when he came into the game.
Absolutely, he's been a fantastic player. We've always thought very highly of the Australian players, think he's a very, very good player. Of course, when I first saw him, he was playing on the right wing as a striker.
Yes,
now he's a wonderful midfielder. Oh, here's trouble again.
Yep. Stacey's lost his stick. Brinkman.
There's another green card.
Yeah. Stacey, bit of a rueful look. That's a real battle of the giants there. Those two, they're still having a little discussion.
Yes, this is a little personal battle going on now between Stacey and Brinkman.
Two of the most experienced players in world hockey.
What do you call it when you've played 300? Both of them have played 300. I mean, you're not a centurion. What are you? I'm not sure, but
triples, yeah, tri-centurion,
well,
triple centurion, whatever it is. You'll have to ask someone like Don Bradman about that. I think he knew all about triple centuries, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And good for the game to have these characters, isn't it, involved in the match.
Now then, this is an interesting one for the youngster. He's done well. Ball is in front of goal. Penalty corner given.
Yes, the third penalty corner for the Netherlands, and I actually thought that Matthew Wells was a little unlucky then because the ball landed, and then it was allowed to play on. He's really just about obstructing in the circle, but the umpire O'Connor says no, it's a penalty corner.
Because Paul van Essenveld, the youngster who's just come on, who made the run down the left-hand side, very determined run. There you see the 5 defenders going in behind the goal line.
Oh,
tremendous.
Too high. It's too high, no goal.
I don't think it'll count.
No, it doesn't count.
There was no deflection. I thought for a moment there may have been a deflection on it. No. And I think that's what they're arguing about. It's Remco van Wijk, the number 15. He hit it with tremendous power.
Went like an absolute rocket.
Yeah, it did.
But the only thing I'd like to see before I make Tilly, I actually had a feeling it might have just nicked the top of the board.
Well, there was a sound.
There was a sound, and we picked it up in the effects microphone.
I think so. I think so. That was my initial reaction too, that it may just have clipped the top of the board.
And in that case, it should have been a goal, but we'll just have to wait on that. But was it going? You'd have to say that was 130, 140 kilometres an hour without having a radar gun here, but certainly it was flying.
When you think of some of the great strikers from the penalty corners, of course, we mentioned earlier, Carsten Fischer, who could hit them for Germany.
And Bovelander.
And I was about to say the really great one was Floris van Bovelander here for the Dutch, who was tremendous, but always played with his socks down. But he could hit thunderous shots, but I don't think he hit many as hard as that.
No, that was absolutely rocketing. Mind you, I saw when I was coaching the Australian team, one day he hit 3 against us, and I don't think I saw any of them, except when they were coming on the way out. So. But he was a beautiful hitter of the ball, and before him, Thies Krauser and Litchen, so they've had a myriad of them. But that then poses a problem for the Dutch selectors, which is in this country they don't have selectors, Maurice Hendrick, because Lomans is the penalty corner specialist, and he's injured at the moment, not playing. And the question will be, what role will he play? Where will he fit in?
Great Britain have a similar problem with Callum Giles, who is their main penalty corner expert, very good at it. Scored well over 100 international goals, but maybe not quite good enough as an all-round player.
That's right, and I think that's the issue. And of course, you can't make a substitution at a penalty corner, so you have to use the people who are on the pitch. And here's another beautiful overhead by Yazet. Van Vick picks it up in the right-hand corner.
Ball still in play. Dutch support arriving. They stretched at the moment. Lovely turn again by Stefan Veen. He's had a great game. Veen has been outstanding. Not just the fact that he scored 2 goals, but he has been very, very good. Eight minutes left. It's been quite a game. Controversy certainly involved. It hasn't been a classic, Richard, in terms of...
No, it hasn't been a classic. No, there's been too many errors.
Yeah.
Very stop-start. But I'm sure the Dutch will be very keen to get through this match with a win. And of course, they will then play in the gold medal game on Sunday, against whom at this stage is unknown. And of course, Australia will play Germany on Friday, which is another tough...
It's a big match.
A big match. And of course, Spain, they're also involved. So Australia are not out of it, but this result makes it harder for them.
Spain have looked good. Spain, they look very good indeed.
I think they're
great counter-attacking side.
I think they're a real gold medal chance at the Olympic Games. I think their forward line is second to none, and they still have to fit Escare into it. When you think about Escare and some of the players, Arnau, the new boy, number 19, and they've just got a wonderful forward line. It's a question of how well their defence goes. They've got a very, very good goalkeeper, Fraser. So I think Spain are going to be right there. I'm not sure about Germany. I'm still undecided about how good Germany are. They've got a very good team. Whether they've got enough brilliance to worry the top lineups, only time will tell.
We shall see. Certainly the Dutch have one or two who can trouble any team. Here's one of them, De Nooijer. Lots of Australian defenders back. But time now running out. And still the weather isn't all that great, I have to tell you. Grey clouds overhead. We were promised
25 or something, weren't
today,
we?
yes. Hasn't arrived yet, anyway. Now then.
Oh, there's a
my
chance for
goodness me.
Brinkman
Right in front of goal.
Yes, it just, of course,
Here it is.
Comes through a myriad of arms and legs, and you've got no time to reflex. It's just got to hit you on the stick, and but it was a lovely pass from Van Beek, isn't it? I mean, he hits it so flat through the circle.
Yeah, the goal was open. It just needed a good firm touch, but easier said than done, as Richard was saying. It just comes through a forest of legs and sticks, and you've almost got to have an element of luck about it, your stick is in the right place at the right time.
And I think the fact that he was standing up rather than getting down very low gave him no chance to see as it came through those, as I said, that myriad of arms and legs. And another poor pass from the Australian defence coming out to Livermore, but Van Beek is away on the right.
5 minutes left. Netherlands leading Australia by 3-1. Livermore again. Now can we have a late rally by Australia in these closing minutes? At the moment, you have to say you don't see it coming. I think the Dutch, if not exactly completely controlling things, are very much in charge. Livermore again, trying to set something up from centre field. It's not going right though, Richard, is it? It's been a struggle for the Australians right from the very start. I think you predicted that anyway.
Well, without putting too fine a point on it, I think the Australian selectors have got some real decisions to make, and for this Olympic side. But obviously some of those decisions will be clarified if the injury situation is improved. But without that, I think there will all... There's not a card, just a...
Stephen Holt. Stephen Holt, who just came across the player who was off balance, which didn't help either. Michael York tidying up again at the top of the Australian circle. Stacey, this is Holt again, Livermore. But it is a struggle. Not been easy. Now then, this may result in something. No, Elmer on the right of the circle. But it's not quite working. And Brinkman can bring it there for Holland.
They had to do more than that in that situation. It was one-on-one with Yazet. Tried to go on his four-sticks, which is about the worst place to go with Yazet. You really need to pull on the dummy on the four-stick and go around on his reverse. Quite a tall person. He's about 6'3" tall, which is what, 192 centimetres. So quite a tall player, very experienced, played more than 200 internationals. That sort of stuff becomes bread and butter to these players after a while, particularly when they're in good form.
What have you felt, Richard, about the Dutch performance today?
Well, I think that's been a bit stop-start as well. I think they, when they look back at it, they'll be happy that it was 3-1, but probably they'll be a little unhappy that it wasn't more. The deflection there, which actually hit Murray Richards in the chest, just as well Van Beek ducked, because otherwise it flew off a stick and might have hit him in the head. But going back to the Dutch performance, De Nooy has been good without being sensational. Eichelburn, who's on the ball now, has done some excellent things. Van Beek has done some things. The defence has been sound without being brilliant. So workmanlike, I think, is a word that springs to mind. But in some respects, it's been a little untidy by both teams. But certainly the Dutch have been better than the Australians.
But I think the reaction of the big crowd has been interesting. At no time have they really
got involved,
have they?
And they've all got the rattles that they normally swing around their head, and you've all got their streamers and trumpets, and we haven't really heard very much.
So I think Richard is right. It's been very workmanlike, and they've certainly done enough. An element of controversy about a couple of the goals. Now Livermore. Stacey again.
This is better to Holt.
Is better. Oh, well, that was a lovely move, and Brennan, I think he took his eye off it just at the vital time.
Yes, I think he was looking at the scoreboard at that stage instead of looking at the ball. But it was a beautiful pass from Holt, absolutely precision passing, found Brennan unattended in the circle. And in this day and age in international hockey, if you've got a metre, then you've got enough time to have a shot on goal. And Brennan mistrapped, and it's unfortunate for him, but they'll have to live to fight another day if they come out through York.
His head did just go up at the vital time, I think. Livermore, that's nice skills. Stacey, as always, in support. Smith this time. Dutch are back though in numbers and they can counter-attack now maybe. We're inside the last 2 minutes, in fact just over a minute left, with the Netherlands leading 3-1. Umpire waves play on.
Well, I think it was a good tackle.
Yes. This is Stacey again. Elmer in support.
The crowd are always looking for blood in those situations, but the two experienced umpires that I've seen here today, it's quite interesting, no yellow cards,
No.
And yet there's been a bit of pushing and shoving and the crowd wanted blood, as we see Benoit on the breakaway.
Could still result in something. It's a little bit too strong and then a slip. And did the ball go out? I'm not sure that it did, but anyway, the hit is given to Australia, and we're just counting the clock down now. Just over 30 seconds left, so this is going to be a win for the Netherlands over Australia. It will mean that the Netherlands will retain their 100% record. Remember, they are the Olympic and World Champions. This is Brennan, and he's won himself a long corner, and Australia a long corner. But it will mean that after 4 matches, the Netherlands will now have won 4 and will be up and clear at the top of the ranking group and will be into the final, Richard.
Oh, and they deserve to be there. There's an opportunity for victory, but in a one-on-one situation with Van Pelt, still couldn't get the ball, but the Netherlands certainly deserved to win the match. No question about that.
Well, it wasn't quite the classic that we expected as the final hooter goes, but goes for the Netherlands. Eichelboom and 2 from Stefan Veen, one of which was a penalty stroke. The umpires had a big part to play in it, Raymond O'Connor and Santiago Deo. But the victory enthusiastically received, not least because it puts the Netherlands into the final for the gold medal. But an awkward game and a difficult game for the Australians, I think.
Yes, I mean, we actually found it awkward, the call, because there were so many incidents, so many fumbles, people making mistakes, slipping over. It was one of those games where you sort of wondered, it didn't get into any really good rhythm. And the Australian players have got a bit of rebuilding to do. They missed some opportunities. Straight after half-time for 10 minutes, they dominated. Dutch went down. The controversial penalty stroke was awarded. Suddenly it was 2-1. Then it became 3-1. And the Dutch just killed the match from that moment on. But certainly Terry Walsh and the coaching staff have got some interesting decisions to make. And I'm sure they're finding out a lot about some of these players and in the lead-up to the selection of the Olympic team in a month or so time.
So the Netherlands are clear at the top of the group with 12 points. Then comes Spain with 7. Germany have 6 and Australia 5. So Netherlands definitely into the final. One more match each to be played. All have now played 4. And there is confirmation of the final score. Eichelboom giving Holland the lead, and then Livermore replying with a lovely goal for Australia just before half-time. But then 2 goals in the second half. One a penalty stroke by Stefan Veen gave Netherlands their win. Final score here in the Wagner Stadium, the Netherlands 3, Australia 1.
The ball, he selects a knot to get into the circle. Good play there, but